Today we're talking about 7 of the biggest money mistakes to avoid while you're in your 20s. Let's go. How's it going, guys? I'm Bryce with SaneSense.com, where we talk about everything from personal finance to real estate investing. We try and put out new content each and every week, so if you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and as always, be sure to hit that like button as well. We're gonna start at number 7 today and work our way up. Number 7 is forgetting or being too scared to negotiate your salary. Whenever we're interviewing for a job and we get offered the position, we have this irrational fear that says, oh, they only offered me $42,000, but I want to ask for $47,000, and I'm afraid if I do that they're gonna say take a hike, and then I won't get the job, and I really would just rather have the job than have the extra money, so I'm just gonna accept it. Everything will be fine. Whew. You see, in actuality, that's not how it works. If a company has spent all of this time to schedule you, bring you in for an interview, have all these people talk to you, ask you questions, and then you say, hey, I want another $5,000 or $10,000, they're not gonna just tell you to take a hike. Yeah, they're probably gonna counter and try and negotiate with you some more, but you should never, ever, ever accept the base offer that they give you. You see, your salary is just a drop in the bucket. For even a small to a medium-sized company, they have hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month in payroll. So your extra $5,000 or $10,000 per year, broken down, that might be what, another $1,000 per month that they have to pay. When they're paying hundreds of $1,000s, your measly $1,000 extra per month, they don't even care about. Typically speaking, they're just the HR representative. So when you come back with them and you say, hey, I want another $10,000, they're not personally taking the hit. They're not thinking, oh, that's my $10,000, I don't want to spend that. No, they have a budget. The company has allocated them money that they can use for new hires. Us as the interviewees, we get so worried and emotionally tied that, it's just too much, I don't want to. No, you're worth it. You have a skill set, they want you, and you need to be compensated for it. Most likely, the hiring manager is probably thinking about whether or not they have carrot cake in the break room.
Break the carrots!
Or what they're having for lunch. I mean, it's not a big deal. You need to ask for what you're worth and never take their base salary. The other thing that you can do is look at the total compensation package too. If they're being a little bit persistent on that base number, try and get extra compensation such as additional days off on your PTO, or maybe you can get other perks like you can work from home or work remotely, or whatever it may be. Think of your total compensation and not simply the base salary that you're going to earn. Money mistake number 6 is skimping on insurance. Look, I get it, I understand. When you're just barely making ends meet, insurance is kind of the last thing that you worry about. That definitely takes a backseat to food and paying your electric bill. But this period of time in your 20s is when you really need to just lay this good foundation for the rest of your life and your future. If you have an unexpected medical bill come up, that could be thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands, or potentially even more. You might think that you're saving a couple bucks now because you're not paying insurance premiums, but if you do have something major come up, you're gonna be glad that you have it. Or let's say, for example, that you wanna skip on your car insurance. For one thing, it's illegal, so don't do that. But 2, you might say, well, I'm a good driver. Okay, perfect. You might not rear end somebody, but what if they rear end you and they're uninsured? You're gonna be stuck with that bill and have no way to pay for it. Renter's insurance is something that a lot of people should have, but they don't. In fact, when I was renting an apartment, I didn't even know this existed, but I wish I had. For less than the price of a pizza per month, you can get an insurance policy that covers all of your personal belongings. At one point when I was looking at pricing, I think it was like $16 for $20,000 in coverage. So picture this. Let's say you're living in an apartment and then one day a pipe bursts. Your apartment's flooded, you can't live there anymore. What do? If you have renter's insurance, perfect. They'll pay to put you up in a hotel. They'll also pay to cover all your clothes that were damaged. They'll pay to cover your furniture and your other belongings, your electronics. Anything that you own, they'll cover. A lot of tenants think that landlord's insurance will cover something like that, and that's not the case. As landlords, we have insurance on our own properties, but that doesn't cover tenant belongings whatsoever. So if my apartment building catches on fire and burns all your stuff to the ground, my building will be replaced, but your belongings won't. Don't skimp on insurance thinking that you can save a couple $100s a month, because it could end up costing you thousands in the long run. Money mistake number 5 is marrying the wrong person. I can't stress this enough. This is huge. Huge, 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 huge. You need to be so super selective on who you choose as a spouse. I did so well in this department. My wife is incredible at keeping me grounded. Whenever we're at the store and I'm tempted to buy something, she pauses and she's like, "Do you really need that?" And she's not preventing me from buying that necessarily, but what she's doing is she's making me pause and think, do I really need this? And most of the time, the answer is no. In our relationship, I'm naturally the spender. I've got expensive hobbies. I like really nice camera equipment. I like computers. I'm the spender. My wife, on the other hand, she's super frugal. Occasionally, she'll go out shopping with her friends and she'll come home and she'll have bought a necklace or something for, $20. And she feels bad. She's like, I didn't really need it, but I wanted it, so I bought it. And I'm just like, stop. She is so frugal. If you know that you're the spender in your relationship and your spouse is also a spender, that might not be the best combination. I'm not saying that's not something you can work through, but you really need to find someone who kind of gives you those checks and balances. Now, even more important than that is finding somebody who supports you. My wife is 100% supportive of my dreams and our dreams together. If you see me and I have some downtime, chances are that I'm gonna be thinking up some way to build passive income or start a business or do this or that. And my wife is 100% supportive. When we got started in real estate, she was 100% on board from the get-go. She knows that this has been something that I've dreamt of doing for a really long time, and she knows that that's really important to me. Finding somebody who supports your goals and your dreams is massive. If you want to save $10,000, but your spouse just wants to spend it all, that's never gonna work. If you really want to excel in personal finance, get it? Excel? Then you have to be on the same page as your spouse. If you're not on the same page, it's gonna be a constant struggle. Money mistake number 4 is not investing in training or education. There's a ton of people out there who say, don't go to college, it's way too expensive. Now, while I personally do believe that the cost of tuition is absurd, I would not be where I'm at right now if I didn't go to college. Now, having said that though, it's been really great to have a steady, consistent source of income to depend on while I work on building up all these different side businesses. Having said that, college is not for everyone. I'm not advocating that every single person out there go to college. But one thing that you do have to have for certain is a skill or a trade. Whether you want to be an electrician or a plumber, or you want to be a videographer or a graphic designer, you have to have a skill that's marketable that can make you money. So whatever that may be for you, you need to make sure that you get some sort of training and don't just work a minimum wage job for the rest of your life. If you do decide that college is the route for you and you want to get a degree, there's ways to make sure that you don't go into too much debt to do so. You can limit the costs by doing your undergraduate program at a state school. Or even going a cheaper route, you could make sure to do your associate's degree at a community college before you transfer to a 4-year degree. Now, some of you may disagree with this, but I personally believe that the name of the college does not matter one bit unless you're going into academics. Having Yale or Harvard on your degree could be a big thing if you want to be a professor or something like that. But my experience has been it does not matter where you go to school. As long as you have a degree, for the most part, people don't care. Do yourself a favor now and invest in yourself. Get a good skill and a good trade that'll allow you to make money. Money mistake number 3 is going into debt for an expensive luxury car. Going into debt for a new car is one of the most detrimental things that you can do for your finances, period. At this stage in your life, you need to be purchasing assets and not liabilities. An asset is something that makes you money or puts cash in your pocket, whereas a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Within the first 4 years of owning a brand new car, it can lose up to half of its original value. So let's say you purchase a $40,000 car. 4 years later, it's only gonna be worth $20,000 or $25,000. Some people say, oh, my car's an investment. No, it's not. That's ridiculous. I personally have a rule where I don't let myself buy any vehicle that's newer than 4 years old. So if it's 2019, then I can't buy a new car anything newer than a 2015. And in most cases, you don't even need to do that. You can find a really reliable car within that 5 to 7 year old range. Money mistake number 2 is putting off retirement. So many people think that retirement is for old people, but you know what? If you don't start saving now, you're not gonna be able to retire. You need to start saving right now. I did some math in last week's video where I talk about the difference between if you were to start saving for retirement at age 20 versus age 30. If you were to wait just 10 years, that could cost you $1.2 million or more. Let's say over the course of your working career, you make $60,000 per year average. If you start saving at age 20, 45 years down the road, you'll have $2.3 million in retirement. Now that same scenario, if you were to start at age 30, you'd have over just $1.1 million. That's still a lot of money, that sounds great, but by just starting 10 years sooner, having that interest compound over and over and over will save you $1.2 million. That to me is worth it. Now, if waiting just 10 years can cost you $1 million, imagine what can happen if you wait 15 years or even 20. I mean, this makes massive differences in your retirement. Make sure you start saving now and have time work for you. Number 1, and the biggest money mistake that you can make, is spending more than you earn. I know this sounds simple, but that's the great thing about personal finance. The majority of everything in personal finance, it's not complex calculations and formulas. It's really just simple, easy math. Here's the thing. If you spend more than you earn, you will never, ever, ever be wealthy, period. If you just keep swiping your credit card and spending frivolously and tell yourself, I'll worry about it later, that's never gonna work. That is a formula for failure. Plain and simple, the math just doesn't work. If you have more leaving than you have coming in, that's never ever gonna win. Make sure that you stick to a budget. You need to have a line item for every single dollar. If your dollar is not accounted for, then you're not gonna know where it's going. At an absolute bare minimum, try and save 10% of your take-home pay. If possible, shoot for 20%. It's gonna be hard, it's gonna be difficult, you're probably gonna have to make some adjustments, but if you don't save now, you're setting up your future self for failure. In personal finance, there's a term called pay yourself first. Simply put, if you wait until after all of your bills and expenses are paid for and then put the rest that's left over into savings, you're never gonna have any left over. When you get your check, you need to immediately put money away for savings and investments. Everything else that's left over can be spent on wants and needs. This involves a significant amount of sacrifice, and you really just have to be diligent about your budget, but your future self will thank you. That's it for this video, guys. Those are my 7 biggest money mistakes that you should avoid in your 20s. If there's something else that I've missed or that has really made a big impact in your financial life, be sure to share it with me down below and so that we can share it with other people. As always, if you like what you see, again, be sure to subscribe and of course hit that like button if you haven't already. That's it for this video, guys, and we will see you next week.